Dr. Angela here, your host in the Enlighten Me products community. It is almost Christmas time and Christmas party and lots of events. And so that's why I thought it would be a really timely time to actually do a behind the scenes and show exactly how I make the protein bliss balls. I also have a copy of the recipe on the Enlighten Me blog. So if you go to enlightenme.com.au, down at the bottom of the page, there's a link to blog, and that's what I'm actually looking at on my screen today to help me create what we're making, which is the vanilla coconut protein bliss balls. So before we get started, why might you choose to make the protein bliss balls? The first reason is because sometimes we get sweet cravings. So whether you like it or not, sometimes in the afternoon, 3 to 4 p.m., you just feel like something sweet. And it's not always about ignoring your cravings. It's not always about trying to have one square of chocolate and then trying to limit yourself after that. Sometimes it's about just embracing what's natural, and if you have cravings, so be it. Let's have a healthy option when it comes to sweet treats, but let's also have a healthy option where the sweetness comes from something natural, such as from dates, which are full of vitamins, minerals, fiber, and are a natural source of sweetness, but also something that is going to be quite fueling for the body, because often when we do turn to sweet treats, if they are chocolate, if they're lollies, those don't necessarily have much nutritional value. But if you can have something that is a natural sweet, quite good for you, and also has the added benefits of vitamins, minerals from all of your nuts and seeds and other sources of protein, it's going to be all the better. The other great thing about the protein bliss balls is that they are made fresh. So for those of you who like to have something made ahead of time, especially if you've already started the break and you wanted to just set aside 15 to 20 minutes to make something that is quite high in protein and a nice sweet treat, then this is going to be a really good option for you, rather than purchasing something that might have something that in there that you don't necessarily want to have. So sometimes when you do buy protein bliss balls from the supermarket, for example, they are full of preservatives, or they do have a lot of artificial sweeteners in there to make it super duper sweet. So at least if you're making it yourself, you know all of the ingredients that are going in there, and you know what you can and can't tolerate, and can choose to put those things inside there. So without further ado, let me show you me making some protein bliss balls, the vanilla coconut flavored ones, and also show you some tips and tricks that I have along the way. So if you've already gone to enlightenme.com.au, you will see the ingredients for the vanilla coconut bliss balls, and that includes rolled oats. So I've been using the Coles organic rolled oats, and you use 1 scoop of those. And to make it easy for everyone, just so that you don't necessarily have to have measuring cups, you don't have to have kitchen scales, I just put everything in the quantities of the scooper that's already used for the Enlighten Me Shakes, so that you know what ratio it's going to be. It's going to be 2 scoops of the shake powder. It's going to be, for example, 1 scoop of the rolled oats. If you've already got a couple of bags of the Enlighten Me Shakes, just wash them and keep it for spare for when you have it for recipes, and that way you don't necessarily need to have something else. It's just really easy that way. So the recipe calls for 1 scoop of the rolled oats, which I just quickly put into the mixer as we go. The second one is 1 cup of sunflower seeds. So here's the rolled oats going in, and we'll get our 1 cup of sunflower seeds. I've just been using these natural sunflower seeds from Coles, so we can just put that one inside there, and we know that sunflower seeds are a really good source of fiber, and this also gives it a nice little light kind of nutty taste without it being like too crunchy or too nutty. So that's our sunflower seeds going in. It also calls for 2 scoops of the Enlighten Me Shakes in vanilla flavor, and this is as some of you might know, the equivalent of the entire meal. So when you do have the 2 scoops inside there, that is going to give you 32.4 grams of protein and only 5.5 grams of carbohydrates. And then it also has all of the other things that are included in the shakes, which make them good for your gut. So the prebiotics, the probiotics, and the greens, including your broccoli, spinach, and kale. I'm going to use a different scooper. I'm going to use the scooper that was included inside the shakes and put 2 scoops of that inside our mixer. That's scoop number 1. And here's scoop number 2. Here we go. There is scoop number 2. And what you'll notice that I'm doing is I'm actually putting in the dry ingredients first. So I haven't actually put in any dates just yet because I actually want to be able to blend these ingredients so that they're all broken down into a really fine powder. So powdered and dry ingredients first. Last but not least, that it calls for 1/4 cup of pumpkin seeds. And pumpkin seeds, I use these ones, so I use the Coles ones. Obviously I shop at Coles. And of course it's another great source of protein, a plant-based source of protein, and also has a lot of fiber in there as well. So let's put in 1/4 cup, I use the scooper, 1/4 cup of pumpkin seeds and put those ones inside. Here we go. So that concludes making all of our dry ingredients together. And like I said, I like to put in the dry ingredients first so that we can actually break it down into a really fine powder before we put anything wet inside there. So let's just blend that one up. Let's just start it at a low speed first and get everything turning. You see that one? And then turn it up to a medium speed. On my one, it's a 5. That looks quite good. Let me show you. So this is what we got for our consistency. So it's really fine and really powdered, and this is going to be the base for the protein balls. So once you've done that, the next step is to put in our pitted medjool dates. The recipe calls for about 10 large pitted medjool dates. I've got about, I think, 10 to 14 small ones inside here. And just as a tip, it can be really hard to get the seeds out of medjool dates, especially if you've just taken it out of the refrigerator and they're very cold and hard. So I got these ones from Coles. They've been in my fridge. As you can see, they're getting a bit dry and they're very, very cold and difficult to pierce in order to take the seeds out. So what you can see that I've done is I've actually just soaked them in some warm water. It doesn't have to be boiling. Boiling is going to be kind of making them a little bit cooked. So I've just soaked that in some warm water and pulled out the seed from the center in order to have the dates there. And I'll just show you just how easy it is to pull out the seed. I actually always put on a glove because I don't like sticky things or touching my food. So let's just see whether I can do this on camera. Getting a medjool date, putting your finger in the center and then just popping out the seed like that. So you can see that the seed comes out and we can just pop that into our bowl along with the rest of them. I'll just do the other 2 as well. So here is our second example. Popping out the seed and putting it inside. And last but not least, one more demonstration. So just put your finger inside. It should be nice and soft now that you soaked it in the warm water, and the seed should come out quite easily. So there you go. There's our medjool dates all pitted and they're ready to go inside the mixture. So let's pop those in. And now we've got something that is quite wet along with our dry ingredients, but the dry ingredients have already been blended essentially down to a fine powder. So again, started off at low speed just to combine everything together, and then a bit faster to be able to break down the dates. And you'll actually start to see the consistency change into what's necessary to make the protein bliss balls. Let's go faster again. If this happens where it actually gets stuck, then it needs a little bit of liquid inside there. So it means that it's a little bit too firm and needs a little bit of water in there. So what I actually do is I put in a bit of the date water. When we have been soaking the dates into the warm water, then I just take the seeds out and put in a little bit of the water inside, and that is going to help it to start to stick together. So let's do that. I'll just take that out and measure a little bit of the water in here. So take a little bit of your date water, pop it inside. I'm using about this much, so about 1/4 of a scoop, and just pour it inside, and then that should mix it up much better. Just give it a shake. Perfect. You can just adjust the fluid intake according to how well it mixes. It should be in the consistency of like a cookie dough. I'll just pause now and show you where we are up to. So you can see this kind of consistency. So the dates are being broken up. You can still see some of the main ingredients inside there are quite big pieces, and it hasn't started binding together yet. So we're going to add in a little bit more water and keep on going until it looks like it's struggling to turn, because it's starting to knead it into a dough type texture. So let's do that one. Oh, look at this. It looks beautiful. It almost looks like it's ready to be kneaded into a dough. It just needs a little bit of water and to be a little bit more fine. So let's put in another, maybe like 1/5 to 1/4 of a scoop of the date water. There we go. We're getting there. Can you see how it's slowing down now? Because it looks like it's not really blending anymore, but it's kneading a dough. Beautiful. There we go. So we've clearly got a big piece of dough right now. Let me show you. This one date hasn't quite broken down, so I need to put that one back in the center. But let me show you here what it's looking like. It's nice and broken down. It is, apart from the big date in there, it looks like it's quite well minced up. And so the last step is literally to make it into balls. So you would just be, I like to put on gloves because it's very, very sticky. I like to just get a ball, and maybe the size of like a $1 coin, for example, something like this. Roll it in both hands. So you want to try to compact it together a bit first. There we go. And then kind of roll it into a ball. Now I've got a ball which is about, I would say, yeah, just over a $1 coin in diameter. And then last thing to do is, I'll just show you here, get your tray and your baking paper. You want to also spread some shredded coconut on there. So you just want to be able to spread your shredded coconut on there. And then last but not least, roll the ball inside the shredded coconut. And that will give you your vanilla coconut protein bliss balls. Lovely and protein packed, natural sugars just from the dates, lots of extra vitamins and minerals. Thank you everyone for joining me today for our behind the scenes on how to make protein bliss balls. Hope that you enjoyed today's recipe, and let me know if this is something that you really like. Bye everyone.